My beloved child. Stop scrolling. Pause here for a moment. Something is waiting for you. What you are about to hear was meant to find you. Do not rush past this moment, because some messages do not arrive by accident. They arrive at the exact second your heart is ready to receive them. If you have found these words, let yourself become still for just a little while. There is more happening around your life than your eyes have been able to see, and heaven has been quietly watching every step you have taken. Even when you believed no one noticed your tears, every silent prayer was heard. Even when you believed your story had become invisible, every page continued to be written. You have wondered if anyone truly understands the weight you have been carrying. I have watched every moment. I have counted every tear. I have never abandoned you. Stop scrolling. Pause here for a moment. Something is waiting for you. What you are about to hear was meant to find you. There is a conversation you never witnessed. There is a moment you never expected. There is a stranger whose path crossed the life of the person you love, and neither of them understood why that meeting felt so unusual. It appeared ordinary. It seemed like one passing encounter among thousands. Yet heaven often hides extraordinary moments inside ordinary places. The greatest turning points rarely announce themselves with thunder. Sometimes they arrive through someone whose name will never be remembered, yet whose words echo forever. Your heart has been asking questions you have never spoken aloud. Why has everything felt delayed? Why have so many doors remained half open? Why has the person you care about seemed caught between moving forward and holding back? You have searched for answers inside memories, inside silence, inside restless nights, but what you could not see was that events were already unfolding beyond your vision. The person you love has been carrying thoughts they have hidden from almost everyone. They smiled when others expected them to smile. They answered questions without revealing what truly lived inside them. They convinced themselves they still had plenty of time. They believed another day would always arrive. They imagined they could wait until life felt more convenient before speaking honestly. They told themselves that tomorrow would always be available. But heaven knows how easily people confuse delay with safety. That is why an unexpected moment was allowed to happen. Not because fate lost its way. Not because coincidence suddenly became powerful. But because sometimes a single sentence spoken by someone who owes you nothing becomes the mirror that changes everything. The stranger did not know your name. The stranger had never seen your face. The stranger had no reason to care about your story. Yet something stirred inside their spirit. They noticed something hidden behind the eyes of the one you love. They saw hesitation disguised as confidence. They recognized fear pretending to be patience. They sensed regret before regret had fully arrived. And then they spoke. Those words seemed simple. Yet they landed with the force of truth. The stranger quietly warned them not to let someone precious slip away. The room did not shake. The sky did not split apart. Life appeared to continue as normal. But inside the heart of the one you love, everything suddenly became quieter than it had ever been. Because sometimes truth does not shout. Sometimes it whispers so clearly that it cannot be ignored. Stop scrolling. Pause here for a moment. Something is waiting for you. What you are about to hear was meant to find you. The person you love tried to dismiss those words. They laughed politely. They changed the subject. They convinced themselves it was only an interesting coincidence. Yet as they walked away, those words refused to leave. Every step echoed with the same question they had spent so long avoiding. What if I lose someone I cannot replace? That question followed them through the day. It followed them into the evening. It remained with them long after everyone else had forgotten the conversation. You never knew this was happening. You continued living your own life. You continued wondering whether your prayers had reached heaven. Meanwhile, another story was quietly unfolding beyond your sight. Sometimes you ask why heaven remains silent. The truth is that silence is often where the deepest work begins. While you believed nothing was changing, hearts were being softened. Walls were beginning to crack. Pride was becoming heavier to carry. Excuses were becoming more difficult to believe. The person you loved began remembering details they had forgotten. Not dramatic memories. Small ones. The sound of your laughter. The kindness you offered without expecting anything back. The patience you showed during moments when others would have walked away. The way peace somehow followed wherever genuine love was present. Those memories refused to disappear. They arrived without invitation. They interrupted conversations. They appeared during quiet mornings. They surfaced while looking through ordinary places. Everything began reminding them that what they almost overlooked had never been ordinary. The stranger never realized what had happened. They simply continued with their own life. Yet heaven had already completed the assignment. Never underestimate what can happen when truth arrives at exactly the right time. Never assume your story has been forgotten simply because you cannot see movement. What looks delayed to human eyes may already be unfolding with perfect timing beyond your understanding. You have asked for signs. Sometimes the sign is not given directly to you. Sometimes it is given to the person whose heart still needs awakening. The one you love has been standing at the edge of a decision without fully admitting it. Fear has whispered many lies. What if it fails? What if I am rejected? What if I wait a little longer? Fear always promises more time. Love understands that time itself is precious. That stranger unknowingly interrupted fear's conversation. Just long enough for truth to speak. Just long enough for heaven to remind a wandering heart that some gifts only arrive once. You have often believed your value depended on how quickly someone recognized it. That has never been true. Your worth has never been measured by another person's hesitation. Your value has never depended upon another person's readiness. You remain deeply loved. You remain deeply seen. You remain deeply known. Even when others struggle to recognize what stands before them. There are seasons when heaven allows distance, not as punishment, but as preparation. Distance reveals what comfort often hides. Silence exposes what noise keeps buried. Waiting teaches what rushing never can. The one you love has entered such a season. They are beginning to understand that love is not guaranteed simply because it once existed nearby. They are beginning to understand that precious things require courage. Every heartbeat has been teaching them what words could not. Yet this awakening has only begun. There is still something they have not remembered. There is still one hidden truth waiting beneath everything they think they already know. That truth has the power to change the direction of their next decision. But it has not surfaced yet. It waits quietly. Just beyond the next moment. Just beyond the next realization. Just beyond the place where pride finally surrenders to honesty. And when that happens, nothing will remain the same. The night grew quieter, yet the unanswered question refused to leave. The one who loved you found themselves replaying every ordinary moment that had once seemed insignificant. The stranger's words had become impossible to silence, not because they sounded mysterious, but because they awakened a truth that had been buried beneath fear for far too long. It felt as though an invisible mirror had been placed before their heart, revealing not who they pretended to be, but who they had always been beneath every excuse. They tried to distract themselves. They filled the hours with routine. They convinced themselves they were simply overthinking a brief conversation. Yet every attempt to move forward somehow circled back to the same thought. It was as if life itself had begun asking a question they could no longer avoid. What if the greatest loss is not something taken from you, but someone you never fought to keep? That sentence echoed through every quiet moment. Morning arrived, but peace did not. The sun rose, yet clarity remained just beyond reach. Every familiar place suddenly carried unfamiliar emotions. A favorite street reminded them of a forgotten conversation. A familiar song awakened memories they believed had disappeared forever. Even the smallest details seemed to whisper that something precious had been standing before them all along. In this fictional story, destiny never moved in straight lines. It unfolded through moments that appeared ordinary until much later, when every hidden connection finally made sense. The stranger had already continued with their own life, unaware that a few honest words had become the beginning of someone else's transformation. They never expected their passing observation to linger in another person's heart. Yet some conversations outlive the people who speak them. The one who loved you found themselves remembering your kindness before they remembered your face. They remembered the calm you brought into difficult situations. They remembered how you listened when no one else cared to hear. They remembered the quiet strength you carried without asking for recognition. Then another realization arrived. They had spent so much time searching for perfection that they almost overlooked sincerity. They had mistaken certainty for love. They had confused hesitation with wisdom. Only now were they beginning to understand that genuine connection rarely arrives wrapped in perfect timing. It often arrives while two imperfect people are still learning who they are. As these thoughts grew louder, another unexpected encounter unfolded. Someone else. Not the same stranger, but another ordinary face among countless others, spoke casually about missed opportunities. They laughed while telling a personal story about losing someone they cared about because they assumed there would always be another chance. The laughter faded before the story ended. Regret had quietly replaced it. Those words landed even harder than the first conversation. The one who loved you felt an uncomfortable stillness settle over their heart. For the first time, they stopped asking whether reaching out would make them look vulnerable. Instead, they began asking whether silence had already cost too much. Yet fear never disappears without one final attempt to remain in control. It whispered old doubts. It may already be too late. They may not want to hear from you. What if nothing changes? Those thoughts circled endlessly. But another voice, quieter and steadier, answered each one. What if hope still exists? What if honesty is worth the risk? What if courage begins with one simple step? The battle was no longer between love and indifference. It had become a battle between fear and courage. Neither side had fully won. As evening returned, they stood holding something they had almost forgotten, a small reminder connected to you. It was ordinary to anyone else, yet it carried memories no one else could understand. For a long moment, they simply stared at it. No words. No distractions. Only silence. Then they whispered something they had never admitted aloud. I should have appreciated what was right in front of me. The room remained still. Nothing dramatic happened. Yet inside, everything had begun to change. Without realizing it, they reached for their phone. Their fingers hovered above your name. One breath. Another. Then they stopped. Not because they no longer cared, but because one final secret, hidden from both of you, was about to surface. And when that truth finally emerged, it would completely reshape everything they believed about your story together. The moment was closer than either of you could imagine.